So once if consumer trusts the council, then obviously you always follow the council. The person who go and purchase the product, whether he use it or not, if you are going and purchasing the product, you are called customer. Wherever the possible access to goods and services at competitive prices. So the Act seeks to provide the better protection of the interest of consumers. Hello everyone, I'm Arun Kumar, lecturer in Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. Dear students, welcome to this new session on unit number 3, session 1. This particular unit name is Competition and Consumer Laws. Yes, in the last 2 sessions we discussed about what is contract, and we also discussed about what is Sale of Goods Act, and we also discussed what is Contract Act and all. So in this particular session, in unit number 3, we are going to discuss about Competition Act and Consumer Act. In this, we are going to study 2 topics, that is Competition Act and Consumer Act. So first, if you look into what is this, the Consumer Protection Act. We all know, if you go and purchase a product in a shop, okay, what you are called? You are called as consumer or the customer, okay. We have 2 words, one is consumer and another one is customer. So one is customer, the another one is consumer. So who is called customer? The person who go and purchase the product, okay, the person who go and purchase the product, whether he use it or not. If you are going and purchasing the product, you are called customer. And if you are using that product, whether you purchased it or not, if you are using that product, what you are called? You are called consumer, okay. The person who purchased the product is called customer. The person who consumed the product is called consumer. So here we have this, the Consumer Protection Act, which came into existence in 1986, okay. This act is there to protect the consumer rights. As a consumer, as a purchaser of a product, you will be having certain rights on that particular product or on the manufacturer. If any wrong or if any misconduct has happened by the business entity, or if something is wrong with the product, you have all the rights. So in what way you are supposed to perform your rights? Okay, we are going to study about this particular aspect in this, the Consumer Protection Act. So the Consumer Protection Act 1986 has been enacted to provide for the establishment of consumer councils and other authorities for the settlement of consumers' disputes and for matters connected with therewith. That means here, this Consumer Act is established to establish, or it provides the information to establish the consumer councils and other authorities. Yes, this Consumer Act is going to provide us some guidance to establish consumer councils. So in India, we have consumer councils like taluk level, district level, state level, national level. So how we established this consumer councils? Based on the rules and regulations of the Consumer Protection Act 1986. Further, in fact, the basic motive of enacting this important act is to provide cheaper and speedy remedies to the consumers who are in disadvantaged position in the comparison with the traders who are well organized and rule the market. Yes, that means here this particular Consumer Act or the consumer councils are made in order to provide the cheaper and speedy remedies. That means if the consumer is facing any problem with the particular business entity or with the person who is selling the product, so to provide him the speedy and cheaper remedies to the consumer, this act came into existence. The Consumer Protection Act 1986 extends to the whole India except the state Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, the particular act extends to the whole India but except Jammu and Kashmir, because there are certain other rules with respect to this particular state, and save as otherwise expressly provided by the central government. This act shall apply to all goods and services. Section 1. The act as came into force on 15th April 1987. So when it was made in 1986. So when it came into existence on 15th April 1987. So this law is applicable to the whole India on all kind of goods and services. If any customer or consumer facing problem with any goods and services, they can go through with this particular law and they can find the solution for their problem. Next, the objects of the act. So what and all the objects of this act? Why this act came into existence? What and all the main intentions of this particular act? If you look into that, the first one is better protection of interest of consumers. Yes, to protect the interest of consumers. See, once if consumer trusts the council, then obviously you always follow the council. So you always look into the rules and regulations which are framed by the council. So that is why to protect the interest of consumers. So the act seeks to provide the better protection of the interest of consumers. For that purpose, the act makes provision for the establishment of consumer councils and other authorities for the settlement of consumer disputes and the matters connected to therewith. That means this act came into existence with the intention of better protection of interest of consumers. So how they are protecting the interest of consumers? By establishing the councils, by establishing the consumer councils and also other authorities with respect to the consumer councils. They are protecting the interest of the consumers. Next, the second one, protection of rights of consumers. The act seeks inter alia to promote and protect the rights of consumers such as, yes, to protect the rights of consumers. So as a consumer, as a buyer of a product, you will be having certain rights to perform. So which are those rights? The first one is the right to be protected against marketing of goods or services which are hazardous to the life and property. Yes, if particular product is hazardous to the environment, if it is hazardous to your health, so you'll have the right to stop it. Okay, you'll have the right to complain against that product. Next, to the right to be informed about the quantity, quality, potency, purity, standard and price of goods or services so as to protect the consumer against unfair trade practices. Yes, as a customer or as a consumer or as a buyer, you have all the rights to know about the product. What is the quality of the product, quantity, price, everything. To know everything about the product, you will be having the right. So which act is giving you that right? Yes, the Consumer Act is giving that right to you as a customer. Next, the right to be assured wherever possible access to goods and services at competitive prices. Yes, that means, for example, one goods is sold for 10 rupees and in other place the same goods is sold for 8 rupees. So you have the right to purchase wherever you want to purchase the goods. Either you can purchase for 10 rupees or for 8 rupees. So for any competitive price you can purchase. You need not to purchase it's for 10 rupees only. You can purchase it for 8 rupees also. So as a customer, you will be having the right wherever the possible access to goods and services at competitive prices. Next, the right to be heard and to be assured that consumers' interest will receive due consideration at appropriate forums. Yes, if any consumer is facing any problems, so they'll be having the right to go and complain with the forum which is framed by the Consumer Act. Next, the right to seek redressal against unfair trade practices and restrictive trade practices or unscrupulous exploitation of consumers. Yes, if any mischievous things is happening, if particular seller is misleading the consumer, then the consumer will be having all the rights to seek for redressal against unfair trade practice. If any unfair trade practices is taking place, the consumer will be having all the rights. The consumer will be having all the rights to go against it and to go and complain it to the consumer court or to the consumer council. Next, right to consumer education. Yes, the particular consumer will be having the right to get educated about a particular product. If you don't know about the product, you'll have all the rights to get educated about the product. So all the rights are provided under the Consumer Act. So providing the right is also one of the intention of bringing this Consumer Act into existence. Next one, Consumer Protection Councils. Yes, Consumer Protection Councils. See, one authority, one centralized authority can't take action against everybody. Okay, if there is one consumer law or if there is one consumer authority for India, not possible to take action against each and every cases. So what they did, they established the councils from district, state and national level. So Consumer Protection Councils. So the above objects are sought to be promoted and protected by the Consumer Protection Councils established at the central and state level. That means to protect the interest of the consumer, these councils are established from district, state and national level. Next, quasi-judicial machinery for speedy redressal of consumer disputes. That means the Act seeks to provide speedy and simple redressal to consumer disputes. For this purpose, there has been set up a quasi-judicial machinery at the district, state and central level. Yes, that means here there is a fast solution judgment will be given with respect to any problems where the consumer is facing with the seller with respect to a product or the service. In case if any particular consumer is having any problem, the fast solution will be given, fast judgment will be given to that particular consumer so that he can feel happy and he can feel confidence to go and purchase more and more products with the other companies. Next, important definitions. Yes, so we have a few important definitions here in this particular unit, that is Consumer Protection Act. So which are those definitions? The first definition is complaint. So this definition comes under section 2 subsection 1 intersection 13. It comes under section 2 subsection 1 intersection 13. So what does this complaint means? So complaint means a consumer or any voluntary consumer association registered under the Companies Act. Okay, so any consumer or any consumer association registered under the Companies Act 1956 or under any other law of time being in force or the central government or state government or which makes a complaint. Okay, any individual person or any consumer association or the state government or central government makes the complaint, one or more consumers where there are numerous consumers having the same interest, that is one or more consumers having the same interest to complain. In case of death of consumer is legal heir or representative. Complaint means the allegation in writing made by a complaint. Okay, so any complaint given by the consumer or by the consumer association or by the central government or by the state government. So if any complaint, okay, any allegations in writing made by a complaint that an unfair trade practice or a restrictive trade practice has been adopted by any trader or service provider. Okay, so if any mischievous things is happening, if any unfair trade is happening, if any complaint is raised against the trader by any consumer or any consumer association or by the state government or by the central government, that is called complaint. Okay, and also the goods bought by him or agreed to be bought by him suffer from one or more defects, and the services hired or availed of or agreed to be hired or availed by him suffered from deficiency in any respect. That means any problem faced by the individual or by the consumer association or central government or by the state government, then if that is given in complaint, that is given in writing to the consumer council, that is called complaint under section 2 subsection 1 and intersection C. Next, consumer. So who is called consumer? Section 2 subsection 1 intersection D. So consumer means any person who, consumer of goods, buys any goods for a consideration which has been paid. He purchases any goods for consideration which has been paid or promised or partly paid and partly promised, or under any system of deferred payment, and includes any user of such goods other than the person who buys such goods for consideration paid or promised or partly paid or partly promised, or under any system of deferred payment when such use is made with the approval of such person, but does not include a person who obtains such goods for resale or any commercial purpose. That means consumer is a person who purchases a product for some consideration, for some money, by paying the full amount or by making the part payment and partly promise. That means you agreed to buy the products for 100 rupees, but you paid part of the amount of 50 rupees and you promised to pay remaining 50 rupees in future, and you purchase that product and you are not using that product for the furtherance of the business, then you are called what? Yes, you are called a consumer. So that is the meaning of consumer under section 2 subsection 1 intersection D of the Consumer Act 1986. So with this, I'm going to wind up this session. I'll come up with few more new topics in the upcoming session. Until then, thank you all. Have a nice day. Namaste.